Okay, so I just got done wrapping up a short film slash promo video for Ryan Trahan's candy brand Joyride. This was such a cool and unique opportunity to be a part of, not only because Ryan is such a talented and fun creator to work with, but also because this would be one of the first times I wouldn't be the one acting in one of my short films. Minus my little drive-in pay booth worker cameo that I had. It was mostly just Ryan and his wife Haley in the film, which allowed us to capture a lot more behind the scenes than we typically do on these short film sets. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to break down some of my creative process and just share a little bit more about the story of how we were able to pull all of this off. So much happened before we even arrived on set. There was about 2 months that went by from the moment Ryan and his team initially reached out to us actually filming on set. And most of that just came down to location scouting. Since these new flavors of Joyride were retro 1950s inspired, we really wanted to find a location that represented that era well, which might sound easier than it is, but there's just not that many places, especially in the US, left that are truly out of the 1950s. Most old buildings and businesses have all been torn down or severely renovated. And one of the biggest struggles with location scouting is you never know how people are going to react. I reached out to probably 30 plus businesses, and some business owners are super on board and love the idea of filming, and some could absolutely care less. So you never really know what to expect, and it's kind of a roller coaster. But when you finally do find a place, it's the best feeling ever. But anyway, after all of that, we ended up settling on this super awesome retro looking drive-in movie theater that was in Texas. This drive-in was so cool because it was already 1950s inspired, but unfortunately it was still far from perfect. There's a lot of locations these days that are super retro vintage themed, but they're built with very modern materials, which is obviously fine for real life, but on film, a lot of times those modern touches really stick out like a sore thumb. So knowing this was going to be a little bit tricky to work around, the first thing I did once we arrived in Austin was drive straight to the drive-in and just scout it out in person and see how things were looking. Well, we've made it to Texas. So we're a day early. I wanted to come and scout out the location beforehand. Since we're only going to have one opportunity to film this, we're not going to be able to reshoot anything, unfortunately, if something goes wrong tomorrow. So yeah, let's start with this opening shot. I cannot express how helpful it is to physically be at a location in person and run through each shot beforehand. It doesn't matter how much time I spend preparing, there's always at least something unexpected that ends up popping up. Plus, having the ability to test out different angles without having any pressure just freed up my mind and gave me so much more clarity on the actual shoot day. Gosh, it's so windy out here. Just in the last 5-10 minutes, we've turned this intro shot into a mediocre looking first shot into the most beautiful, golden, crisp intro shot that we could have gotten. I need to actually take a photo or something so I know what time it is. The little angles really do make such a massive difference. Let me try one more angle and we'll call this shot good to go. On shoots where everything or almost everything is filmed outside and you're relying on natural light, things just start moving so quickly towards the end of the night. The lighting looks perfect, and then what feels like 10 minutes goes by and the sun sets. So the more dialed in I can have everything beforehand, the smoother things typically run on set. Well, I think that's a wrap on the location scout. This was arguably one of the most successful location scouts I think I've ever had. This was so helpful. I'm feeling so good about tomorrow. How about you?
I'm ready.
Well, cross our fingers we get a sunny day again.
Yep.
That's gonna make or break everything.
Tomorrow when we come back, we'll be wearing a lot funner outfits.
Yeah, we will. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the Airbnb now and kind of throw these on the computer and piece it together and see how it's flowing. I ended up making a whole mock-up of the film with the red rental car that we had, and even though the footage is kind of silly and looks terrible, it really does help so much with understanding how the pacing and the flow is coming along. So after that scout day, I kind of realized that we were going to need a lot of wides and a lot of close-ups. The wides are great for establishing shots and they're much easier to kind of edit later. And the close-ups allow us to just kind of crop all of that modern architecture out in the actual shot so we don't have to rely on any post-production. I try my absolute best to make everything perfect straight out of camera, but a lot of times it's just not possible, especially when you're trying to create footage that looks like it was captured 60, 70 years ago without a massive film budget. You kind of have to rely on a little masking, special effects, and AI to kind of pull those things off. We wrapped up the shoot with the concession stand scenes, which were a ton of fun. Unfortunately, I didn't grab too much BTS of that. I think we were all pretty tired at that point. It was getting late. But the one thing I really wanted to mention about the concession stand scenes was the props that we ended up using for the counter. When I was developing this concept, I was realizing that the countertop had a ton of iPads on it and very modern looking napkin holders and stuff like that. So I ended up finding a really awesome prop house in Austin called Prop Holland. So if you're ever in Austin and need great props, check out Prop Holland. We just decorated the entire countertop with an old cash register. We had a bunch of napkins and like fun old 50s straw containers. And honestly, just one of those props probably wouldn't have made that big of a difference. But when you start adding multiple props and they start adding up, it just makes the world of a difference. Don't underestimate the power of set dressing. It really does go a long way. So yeah, that's pretty much the entire production. Got home a few days ago and have been editing every single day. Just sent the film to Ryan yesterday and got to see his reaction. That was really cool.
2 movie tickets, please.
Enjoy the show.
Thanks. Oh my gosh. This is too cute. Oh.
Popcorn, please.
And one of the candies.
Right on.
Oh my gosh. Stop it. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That is insane. You guys
So good.
crushed it. The visuals are insane. What a fun shoot. I gotta watch this again. Great job.
It's kind of funny, this whole experience has kind of felt like a full circle moment. I originally met Ryan one time in the past in 2019 when we were both kind of just at the beginning of our journeys, especially me. I had just walked away from a YouTube channel that I had been a part of for the previous 7 to 8 years, and I was starting over from scratch and just trying to figure out so much. So yeah, to see the contrast from back then 7 years ago to now and us working together on this project is pretty cool to see. So thank you so much to Ryan and the Joyride team for trusting me with this project, and thank you all for watching. Peace.